the Farrakhan. I'm the fucking rap phenomenon. Plus, I make it hot.
That's pretty good.
On your burial site, I smoke guns, small rat, tears of life.
Welcome back to Good to Geek Out. Good place to go to geek out. If you want to go see some geeks geek out, then you come here. Or you can come here yourself and geek out. Geek out all over the place, too. There's even kids geeking out in the background. You can hear them. Ready to cover Mandalorian, Chapter 13, The Jedi, which has been spoiled beyond reason already. And this has only been out for a couple days. Thank you, Kevin Smith. Editor of San Antonio, here with my buddies, ready to attack this clone.
Hey, coming at you, Phoenix, Oregon, rising from the ashes, excited for this episode. Mind-blowing. I'm exhausted after watching it. Edge of my seat the entire time. Second time, edge of my seat, still catching my breath. Just closed it up a few minutes ago.
Oh, crazy. Bubba Fresh, San Francisco. The sun is setting early. Winter's upon us. The moon is that of blood tonight. Welcome to the Geek Out. Spoilers ahead.
All right. I know that we talked about how the last cold open seemed forced and not organic. Maybe the second part, but not the first. This one, let me just tell you, I made Thanksgiving leftovers. Hungry, starving, high as hell, ready to eat. I did not touch them for about 45 minutes because I was on the edge of my seat for this whole episode, and I forgot that food was even there. What'd you guys think about that cold opening?
Ahsoka Tano coming in like a Jedi boss grandmaster, using the skills straight from Rebels or Clone Wars. The special effects, the movement, all great. Had a really Kurosawa feel to it. Coming in with the samurai village or town, warlord, boom, and that was just the beginning. You have one day, not even like you have a day. And both of them just standing their ground, like, all right, I'll take a day. Ooh. Set the stage.
Yeah. A beautiful cold open that, you know, if the cold open is supposed to be the preamble or the foreshadowing for what we're going to get for the rest of the episode, it completely nailed it. As Lucy said, it has a very Akira Kurosawa feel and definitely that line between homage and derivative where you just turn it into something and make it your own visually. As Ed had noted in the very first one, this season they switched into the more cinematic framework. And in this one, they just stick with that framework the entire time, and it just takes you to the grand scope of everything. And not only are you drinking in a lot of visual information, what you're drinking in is bleak. Like, they show you a lot of that world, but it's all barren trees and scorched earth and dusty browns and silhouetted blacks and these shifting smokes. So the Asiatic feel that was woven throughout was just there as she, you know, straight ninjas her way through the cold open, which was dope because I was watching G.I. Joe the other day and I was like, were ninjas super popular? When did people stop liking ninjas? Like, when did we stop having ninjas everywhere? Storm Shadow, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, point being is that the way she ghosted around was beautiful, set the stage, amazing.
Yeah, I guess to answer your question would be Tenshu the Ninja? Tenchi? I forget. There was that game. They really rode PS2 maybe. They really rode that ninja thing into the ground, and then it just kind of never resurrected. Kind of like what they're doing to the zombie thing right now. So yeah, like you said, the forest planet of Corvus Yet from the moment they land, we see no damn trees. All we see are those big burly things eating the branches. Or, I mean, the leftover husks of the trees. And I guess from the beginning, if you're going to talk about like foreshadowing, Baby Yoda using the Force for the first time this season to get the ball from that had a lot of meaning in season 1, and we haven't really seen a reference yet. It's referenced here, so it's a foreshadowing of I guess, of what this episode is going to be about.
Some
Mando.
foreshadowing of some forest. Some foreshadowing of some forest shadowing. Like you said, they get down there to the beautiful world that is all burnt down and post-imperial scorched earth, war, battle has come. And I think that the visuals of these giant herbivore peaceful beasts, but there's not enough for them to eat. They're what they need to sustain themselves, the planet can't provide, clearly. And I think that's a great metaphor for the people within the village and the way that the warlord has come through and really dominated the earth to everyone, or dominated Corvus to everyone else's dismay.
Lucy, what'd you think about that awesome ass spear?
Oh, the Beskar spear. That what am I looking for here? It fit the episode very well. It gave her a sense of power, which she has, and she'll demonstrate the use of that spear later in the episode. But also, she knows the Mandalorian's motives. What's more important to him. So she throws that out there as like, "Hey, you do for me. I know you're a hunter." Putting that out there in the beginning, I thought was pretty well done. Very, very like feudal Japan. She is the warlord. She's got her samurai keeping the peasants down. And it's kind of like a Ronin. Here's a Ronin.
Yeah, I thought kind of maintaining to the warlord theme. Instead of having like the heads on a pike, we get these people that are strapped to these little electrified
devices.
cages that are just randomly shocked. Like, even better, like why not keep the prey alive slightly to freak people out more than have their decapitated head. Almost like how, Straughter, you were admiring the death pill form that this
That's what it made me think of also. It made me think of how they did a great job kind of updating these archaic fields. There's no need to waste any time. Like, we are so familiar with the medium that we know the tropes, and so we don't need the long drawn out scene, like the gunslinger scenes, the various gunslinger scenes that happen throughout the episodes where you have the two people face off, which happens repeatedly. It's a motif that happens repeatedly throughout the episodes. None of them seem to dangle too long, like the Quick and the Dead or something like that. Like, it's very easy to make like 310 Yuma sometimes, like the newest Magnificent Seven. Like, pacing in movies now is just so quick that they don't know how to do like an old school, wait it out and really like savor the moment. And in this one, everything takes up the amount of time that it needs to for the scene that it is.
Agreed. There was something about Mando and the way he like held that spear in the beginning that it definitely has weight. I mean, we won't know until maybe later on in the show, but has the weight, I guess, like the Darksaber has for Bo-Katan. It's just the way that he held it and the way he dealt with it. I don't know, just something I noticed. But
No, I think that you're completely right. I think that motif was pretty intentional in the sense of the weapon being a symbol of power and leadership.
So I think where we were at was Yoda. Oh, I'm sorry, Gogurt. What's his name?
Grogu. Grogu.
Queen
Had to
go.
be something really
I forget
pathetic and cute like that. Grogu. Groot. I am Grogu.
I mean, the meeting between Mando or Jin and Ahsoka is as expected, but you finally get to see why they say the Jedi and the Mandalorians are enemies, because they just kind of contradict each other in their weaponry. Like one can't hurt the other. And I think both of them are used to being pretty efficient when it comes to getting the job done. And for the first time, you see both of these things, these ideas, these concepts, these people at a standstill with each other. No one's hurt. And even Mando, for the first time, starts talking before he keeps fighting. He's like, Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan sent me. And then she kind of backs down. But before that, I mean, they're going toe to toe, but nobody's really hurting each other. It's weird. Off for the show.
Yeah, and I think that was one of those. That was one of those super efficient storytelling things. This is a Dave Filoni episode written and directed, and you can just tell with the efficacy of the storytelling. And he knows the mistaken identity hero fight and all that's supposed to be. And he's like, here, boom, boom, boom. Let's give you the cool things you want to see.
Yeah, real quick.
And instead of like dragging that out 15 minutes, again, like they give us a movie's worth of story in 45 minutes. And so just by giving us 2 minutes of that, we know that they're both matched, and we both neither of them. We know that they're going to Vin Diesel versus The Rock, Fast and Furious themselves, and no one's going to get the true upper hand. So I thought it was cool the way that they moved that around. Great introduction. Great. Bo-Katan sent me to talk. Bo-Katan sent me to talk to you. I hope about him. Like,
yeah.
Great comedic timing. Great comedic timing.
What you remind me of right there is what we all expected to see, because we do know Ahsoka Tano so well through Clone Wars, through Rebels. But I think this is a lot of people's very first introduction to Ahsoka Tano. If you're not familiar with the Clone Wars, and I don't know a lot of people, outside of like a more hardcore geek that like, oh, I watched all the Clone Wars and I watched all the Rebels. So I think it was a great introduction to that character, and I think it will probably get some people to kind of go back and look at her origin. And as we've talked about after getting through the Clone Wars TV series was just as much about Ahsoka Tano's growth and development as it was Anakin's, I think.
No,
especially in the beginning, and then that very last 2 seasons for sure.
But we always have to remember that it's somebody's first time ever watching the Star Wars and being introduced to the universe. And like Lucy's saying, like, if this is going to be your first time introduced to that character, what a beautiful, powerful way to have her drop in and make you want to go back and see who she is, and just what a complicated path she weaves, especially if you're unfamiliar with who she is, but you're familiar enough with Star Wars, because you're like, well, why is she not a Jedi? Because that's never addressed within the context of this story. But we all know why he's like, she never refers to herself like that, and she's like, well, she's probably going to talk to a Jedi. Anyway, great seeding, and does make you want to go back and watch stories in the past.
I did like Rosario Dawson's portrayal. I thought it was right on point. I know we saw all the fan pics and all kinds of stuff before, and sometimes that can lead to a buildup or some disappointment on some level. I was 100% satisfied with her portrayal. I think the way that she withheld herself and then expressed herself at the right times felt right on point with the character, almost like she had voiced her, you know what I mean? Like in the cartoon or something, even though she never did, she just somehow understood the character very well, which was much appreciated. And then her and Baby Yoda and their interactions were were pretty, not a lot said, obviously, but but there's obviously a lot of content gone back and forth between them. And if you want to, think about what might have been unsaid that they don't talk about later, we can always do that. Because it seems like there was a lot unsaid when he's like, "Oh, is he talking? Is he talking? What is he telling you?"
Oh, he was trained for years. Exactly how many years? And tell me about these masters who he's trained other.
Yeah.
So, as much as they've done a great job like setting scenes up and like not like respecting the education, I guess, or maturity of the viewer of this, I think they really did miss some huge moments there with her explaining Baby Yoda, or Grogu, if you will, to the Mandalorian a little bit better. Like, hey, you've been flying around the universe about a year and a half with this. Let me give you a little bit more insight than like, he's a force wielder.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
He did say that, but she didn't feel the need to express it right now, and he wouldn't know anyway who they were. But then that's also open. It's good storytelling because you leave open holes for people to come in and fill it in later.
And it also made me think of something that I was saying in the last season in regards to the myth of the Jedi. And it's one thing for like the Jedi to be mythical, but like nobody knows of Yoda apparently. Yeah. And so like to go on like, well, the only it seemed within reason. I didn't see it as a sieve to the story.
Well, I think what I like the most is that Mando isn't a helicopter parent. I see too many of those these days. That was my favorite part.
I did love how the training scene went to a very green, verdant, open area of the bog, and so when they're dealing with the Force, all of a sudden like this life-filled green just hits, and then the way that Ahsoka. The orange just goes opposite of the green, so she just pops and stands out on top of the terrain. So even though it's dusty and foggy, it's still extremely visually striking.
Very Dagobah.
Very San Diego Ba. One thing that I liked is that he says he smells of ex-military. He doesn't say he smells of ex-Empire, ex-Imperial, which I thought was like a cool way to show like, either he's ex-rebel, but, just the fact that there's a ton of small, just like this lady's a warlord, there's just a bunch of small disenfranchised planets that had their own planetary defense forces that now have a bunch of mercenaries that are out there looking for cash.
Yeah, trying to survive.
Good world building. Yeah, I also feel that, again, going with the Akira Kurosawa, the history of Star Wars being tied to Hidden Fortress and Seven Samurai's influence, and so all of the motif going through, but it also in this weird way reminded me of, which I understand is its own homage, but it reminded me of Kill Bill. And so a lot of just that setup was really cool. And again, what was interesting visually was that you have this really long shot. And so you have so much space that's been taken up, especially like we had pointed out earlier with the long landscape cinematic shots. But they only have this tiny bridge with just all this water. So even though we have this big scene, it's just perfectly bookending, encapsulating the fight area that we have. And it just works out beautifully.
One question. Do you think Ahsoka executes Morgan? They don't ever show it. But she does get the information, which was another mind blower. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Where's your master? Grand Admiral Thrawn. So he's a bigger baddie than I think Moff Gideon could be. So Moff Gideon, there's somebody pulling the strings in the background and they just dropped it. It's got to be Grand Admiral Thrawn, who, I think the only person given Grand Admiral Thrawn orders was Palpatine, because I don't even think Darth Vader was on that same kind of level. I mean, Darth Vader could use the Force, but
He wasn't leading armies the way that Thrawn was.
No, he was special forces, and Thrawn was the Grand Admiral of the Imperial fleet, like the number one guy that's sending the army out there.
I can see Moff Gideon and Thrawn coming to blows. I look at Thrawn in this sense as the Nazis and Gideon as the Red Skull. Like they're on the same path, but they have their own intentions. And now with the dissolution of the heart of the Empire, everyone is turning into warlords themselves, just like this lady's a warlord. And it'll be interesting to see how their conflict ends up playing out. I don't think that Moff Gideon, because Moffs are independent governors for all intents and purposes of their own system, in the Navy are basically like in different bureaus, different branches. And so I don't know if they would even report directly, but they're obviously going to come into conflict, especially over what's going on in the Outer Rim as Moff.
So you think you're setting them up for a conflict, and then instead of them working together?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. All right.
It makes sense. The system is in disarray, so people are going to be clinging for power. I don't remember at all, Strata. I was actually talking to Lucy about this earlier. Is Thrawn force sensitive?
No. His big thing actually is nullifying the force. He had those little creatures, I can't remember, Ygatarals, a bunch of
the slug creatures.
Yeah, little slug-like creatures that nullified the force. Yeah, they're from a planet where
Thrawn's different iterations.
Yeah,
just post Star Wars, that trilogy of books, and then the same Thrawn but different continuity when he gets put into Rebels. And they have been pulling stuff from Legends here and there and sprinkling it in, and I guess pulling it out of non-canon and into canon.
Yeah, that's actually like the last note I have about this episode is that when they mention planet Tython, that's the original planet where the Jedi start before they break from Jedi and Sith. That's the planet where they first find the Force and become Force wielders before they split as Sith and Jedi, and they're the Jedi. But yeah, there's a lot of they're bringing a lot of that Legends canon in little by little.
Because as you know, I don't think it was really referenced in the TV shows. Going back to the Clone Wars, maybe here and there. So I did a little bit of Googling on it. It's a huge part of Star Wars: The New Republic video game series, where if that's like one of the main points from that video game, according to the stuff I read on Wikipedia. Shout out to Wikipedia. And then a lot of the Star Wars Legends novels, as far as this is like inner core or deep core, a deep core world where often not traveled into the deep core, and where the Jedi started and where they ended up splitting. Huge ramifications here.
Okay. I think the best way to sum up Thrawn, the fact that he collects artworks of the people that he's fighting so he can better understand who he's fighting to destroy them. In just that one sentence as a pitch of something to make a character interesting, it's as good as the guy breathes through an electric asthmatic samurai mask and has a laser sword. Like, if you're going to give me a one sentence pitch, they do a solid job with that. But the fact that he's also blue skinned, and so you are also addressing the inherent subtext of racial superiority and Nazism that is rife within Star Wars. I mean, they're called stormtroopers. Don't be like, oh, what Nazis? Like,
all right. On that note, I would like to hold a silent moratorium for Captain Blue Jeans, the guy that was seen in the last episode of Mandalorian, the background cast guy. He's been deleted since, and you can't see him anymore. But if you go online, you can still buy his half action figure. Editor, San Antonio, in memoriam of Captain Blue Jeans.
Hey, Rob Lucy, Phoenix, Oregon. Can't wait till next week. Super exciting. Super glad to talk to you guys about it. Anybody check in the comments? Like, comment, subscribe. See you next week.
Boba Fresh, San Francisco. Thank you for tuning in while we tune out. Hey. No, I don't like that either. Boba Fresh, I'm out of here. San Francisco. Love you. Peace. May the force be with you.
Grogu.
Watch party. When are we doing this watch party?